Hello, everybody, and welcome to Against the Fence. This is your People Pick Show. This is a show where we listen to you, yes, the people, and break down the upcoming card according to your predictions. We don't tell you what to think. Instead, we teach you how to think. Now, today, as we get into our predictions for the first pay-per-view card of the year, UFC 270, the biggest, baddest event to start off the year as well, quite exciting, we're going to be joined by a very special guest who I cannot wait to reintroduce to you guys. Yes, I say reintroduce because you might remember he did step onto our channel previously before with the UFC Fighter Q&A that we usually do, so that's a separate series. Today, he won't be quite out of the hot seat, but he will be in for a lot of fun as well. So do stay tuned. Yes. Hey, you guessed it. It is Modestas. Hi. So for you who've simply heard it through the grapevine or just figured it out or guessed it, we are here by the one and only Modestas Bukauskas and the Baltic Gladiator. I'm a big fan of your nickname, to be honest, Modestas. It's pretty cool. You know, it's like,
it was literally, like I say, like a kind of, it was from like someone who saw a pic. I had a picture of myself that then I asked people like, oh, what nickname can I have, and this and that. And yeah, like, so I don't think it even came up, or someone said it was like the Gladiator. But anyways, it all worked out well otherwise, right?
Yeah, I know. It's like, it sort of breathes fear into competition almost, you know. I like that. It's like, it's got that sort of war cry to it. I mean, yeah, I think by the end of the show, we should have a nickname for me, maybe. You know, if you can, maybe I can have my own sort of staple. That would be nuts.
I don't even know that the Energizer Bunny, maybe.
Oh, come on!
Maybe a little bit.
don't bunny me.
More masculine. I
don't know. In school, I had Psycho Psy. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I was the nicest guy, if they were. All right. But yeah, look, so today, like I outlined in the intro, you're not going to be quite out of the hot seat, to be fair. Not quite yet anyway. We're going to begin with a few pressing questions that all of us want to know a bit more about your career and how things are going, your recovery and those sort of plans, and what things look like for the UFC and stuff like that going forwards. And then we have video predictions sent in from a lot of fans all over the world who are looking forward to have us break down their fight predictions for the upcoming UFC 270 card, and sort of hearing those predictions live here on air. But without any further ado, just a couple formal introductions to yourself for those of you guys who don't know who you are yet or haven't heard of you. You know, you're someone, Modestas, who's compiled a 10-2 record on the UK MMA scene and won the Cage Warriors Light Heavyweight Championship back in 2019. And then you went on to defend this title at Cage Warriors 111 against Ricardo. So that was finished with those elbows to the head. Great move. I enjoyed watching that. I think the boys were up there to catch that live as well. But then you stepped into UFC and won your debut in a very similar fashion as well, with that same sort of devastating sort of blow to the head with the elbow. So that was pretty cool and very effective. You went on to see some tougher days and competition-wise, including like a very debatable loss to that MICHEL Oleszejczyk. I can't quite pronounce his last name. And then, I mean, I know a lot of us were sort of fuming about that particular decision. And then, of course, that nasty leg injury that sort of led things up to the times and where we are now, really. And of course, that's also fed into being released from UFC now and then on that sort of road recovery path. So firstly, how's the recovery and what's the latest news from your doctors on your end? And, you know, what's your mindset?
I've had a very rocky road recovery wise. It's been very up and down, you know, sort of expect in your head for everything just to go straight line up and forward and you know, for everything to go absolutely amazing. And unfortunately on my end, it's not gone that way. I actually had to come back for a second surgery. So I had my initial surgery about 2 weeks after the fight, and then I had my second surgery about 5 weeks ago. So well, the initial surgery was like very invasive. I had like my physio actually watched the operation so she could obviously kind of construct my physio the best way possible. And she said I had rods sticking in and out of all different places in my knee. Like literally they had to put all these different grafts.
I'm squeamish like DC, man. I can't even hear it because I can't.
The doctor sent her a photo of a string piece of one of the things that they took out of my knee, and mate, it was horrible. I was getting squeamish even just looking at that myself, to be honest with you. But yeah, crazy. So I mean, a lot of people don't know that actually 10 weeks before the fight, I had quite a substantial knee injury anyways to begin with.
Right.
So I came into that fight compromised. I don't obviously use that as an excuse or anything like that, because obviously Khalil went in and done the job. So, you know, like I say, all credit to him. But yeah, I felt I could still win the fight even with this knee injury, which, you know, unfortunately in hindsight, I wish I probably would have got it sorted earlier as opposed to try and wait till after the fight. Oh yeah, I'll be fine. I'll get through it. We'll go and beat him, and then we'll move on. And unfortunately, it didn't end up that way for me. So yeah, and for there was certain moves that I couldn't actually do just because I had potential click. But it was quite a bad injury, but. Then we had it all sorted. Everything was all good. It seemed like everything was going on the recovery path. It was extremely painful. Like literally, I remember there was a lot of times where I was literally just like sitting in my room, like really, really not in a good way. It's probably the worst painful knee surgery that I've had. But you know, everything was getting better, moving, like, you know, stuff like that. And then yeah, I had like this buildup of scar tissue, which happens in 20% of injuries of the kind that I had, and which is very unlucky, obviously. But then they had to basically take this bit out so that I was able to get full extension on my leg, which I now have. And now we're working back to like full. So it's been a very rocky journey with a lot, like I say, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of, you know, questioning a load of things, and, you know, probably a lot of depressive times, but we are now moving back on the way up. So yeah, I'm hoping now, like, you know, I've already started boxing now. So, you know, I've been able to move around a lot, but people tell me every single week at work, like, oh my gosh, like, you're moving around so much better. And you know, obviously the dance moves are being popped out on the gym floor now and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So whereas they weren't being done before. So, you know, we are set to make the cut. Like, now I feel like the comeback is really on. Whereas, you know, maybe a couple months ago, I felt like you know, maybe my leg is going to be done forever, but now I know it is not, and we are going to come back.
I mean, you're someone with a really strong mindset, so I imagine your mind was ahead of your body. So your mind being sort of like, I'm ready to go, let me get back in there, but your body is sort of holding the brakes on, saying, I'm not ready yet, sort of thing.
Yeah. You almost, like I say, you overestimate how quickly things are actually going, because you think, oh, I've had knee surgery before, I've recovered pretty fast, and, you know, like, my body just learned to adapt. And you realize, like my physio she kept telling me, she said, Modestas, you have no idea what they've done to your knee. Like, you really need to just chill out. take it day by day. Don't rush, because otherwise you're going to fuck yourself up. So but it's all good. Like I say, I'm just glad that we're finally at a point where I can say, do you know what? I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, whereas before I could not. Yeah.
No, I imagine. Hey man, well, we do have some chats coming in here from people. You know, we got Bart MMA saying, got love for y'all. Keep up the good work, mates. Got Ashley chiming in saying, hate yes, guys. Yeah, so we've got some positive things in chats. Anyone else got some questions, perhaps? So we might find some time over the show to sort of chuck them in there as well. But do jump in the chats. We're seeing them and be able to read them out live here as well. I do have another question for you, though, Modestas, in terms of like what happens, you know, next. You know, that sounds like a very rocky journey you've gone through. Not only have you gone through rounds and rounds in the UFC, it sounds like you've gone through rounds and rounds in A&E as well. So, right. So, but you know, will you be back? Or what's next for you? What's the immediate sort of next plans? You know, one foot in front of the other.
Well, I will 100% be fighting this year. I'm hoping by summer of this year. At the end of the day, I've got certain things to fix. You know, in my game, that it's not necessarily, like I say, like a lack of skill set. It's more about application more than anything. So I need to learn to be able to do that from my training, and then being able to bring out. So, and, you know, we're going to take as many fights as we need in order to be able to get when we feel we're actually going to be 100% ready to take everyone on. Now, look, I feel like I'm ready skill set wise, but up here we need to make sure all the cogs are turning in the right direction. So, but yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking to make my comeback by summer. Not sure which promotion I'll be fighting for just yet. I have had a couple of offers, so whichever route is going to get me back to the UFC, that is the one that we're going to go for. I've got a good management team that are going to lead me in the right direction. The main focus is obviously to get the knee to 100%. So right now we're on track to hopefully be back to full MMA training end of March. So yeah, like I say, we're planning for a summer return. So then as soon as I hit that, that first fight, we're looking to steamroll the competition and yeah, get my name out there again, because like I say, it's been very quiet on my end and it's time to make some noise again.
Yeah, that's exciting. I know there's a lot of people, a big community, a huge support community behind you that do want to see that happen. Exactly. And not just us guys at ATF, we've always got strong support here. Now we love having you on the channels, twice already. Look at that. But I guess, looking at the UFC, I mean, there's a lot of news coming around it this week, not just UFC 270, but there's also loads of talks about sort of fighter pay and all that sort of stuff as well. I did want to get your thoughts initially on it, but then we did get a little bit deeper into it perhaps later on as we come into this topic and, the lateral fights later on the card. But, it's made another headline this week. UFC's talking about pay for fighters. Fighters are sort of complaining about not being substantial enough, not being enough. What's your thoughts there on it? Do you have any at all, or is it not such a big concern for you?
The life-changing money comes in from the second contract, I think. Like that's where you can really make a full proper, I was able to make a living off of the pay that I got from fighting, and even from having fights not go my way. So it's substantial enough to where okay, I can get by and it's enough for a job, but it's not it's not enough until you get the second contract where you get that really good money, and depending on how marketable you are and stuff like that. Like I say, you only think you're going to win every fight. You never really, as a fighter, you never really want to think about the other side of it where you flip the script. So, there's a lot of things that go into it. Obviously, if you're thinking about the peak or the pinnacle of fighting, being at the UFC, the same like the NFL and NBA, yeah, it's like, yeah, you would expect the fighters to get paid more, especially with such a highly skilled thing. I think maybe because of the availability of MMA to everyone, and like with NBA they have certain, you have to go through college and then you have to get drafted, whereas with MMA you can literally just jump straight in. So maybe that has some sort of maybe that has some sort of thing about why but yeah, look, it's big. It's not the largest, but it's the second contract that will give you that larger pay that everyone wants to achieve.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of UFC fighters, they have families, they've got children as well, so it's a bit more on them to have to support and uphold and things like that as well.
Yeah.
And, I guess they are hungry for bigger paychecks. In fact, one particular, and we'll get into a bit later on the card, is of course Francis Ngannou. But good to get your thoughts on that quite early on. Okay, one more question, and then we'll get into the People's Pick show. I know we're all dying to sort of talk about some fights on the UFC 270 card, but before we do, pressing question as well, a big one. You've been picked up now from your everyday life, and you've been dropped into a movie scenario. Okay, you got two choices between these movie scenarios. Either you have to survive in Jurassic World or Shaun of the Dead. Which one would you prefer?
Oh, I don't know, man. Like Jurassic World, I'll definitely get eaten by a dinosaur. You know what I mean? Shaun of the Dead, I don't know. I don't know. I reckon Shaun of the Dead. Like I can't compete with I can't compete with dinosaurs, man. Them dudes will bite my head off, man. At least with Shaun of the Dead. So, I've got a bit of an athletic advantage when my knee's better, obviously.
You'll be in a Winchester though, wouldn't you? You'll be in a Winchester.
Yeah.
Wait for it all to blow over.
That's it.
That's all you got to do. I mean, it's a tough one though, because the spectacle of seeing dinosaurs like in real life, I mean, that'd be epic, amazing. But then, yeah, short-lived, wouldn't it? They're smart enough at least.
Literally short-lived.
Yeah. That's the one. All right. Well, look, Modestas, thanks so much for indulging our curiosity there. And it's been good to sort of learn more about your ambition. We know you always got that strong support, like I said, here from the ATF, but also there's a strong community as well, looking to see you do well. So thanks for helping us with a couple of those questions. But for now, we will get into the people's picks. So let's jump us over to the other scene for that. We're in. Hello, and this is the people's picks. So we're going to go through the fight card at this point, and it's going to be from the first fight on the card all the way up to the main event. There's 5 fights on this card. It's quite exciting. Modestas is with me in the chair. He's going to help us talk about each of the fights as we go through. He's got some inside fighter knowledge, so I'll be asking some questions about what's his natural reaction when he comes up against a grappler, and we'll just see how that could be similar to some fighters on the card as well. Get some real insights from a UFC fighter himself, but also we have those picks from you guys who've sent them in as well. So don't worry if you haven't sent those picks in yet. There will be links and details in the description below for how you can do that for ahead of UFC 271 as we do when we do our next people's pick show. But thanks for everyone who did send them in so far, because they're just fun and really well put together. So that's awesome stuff. All right. So, Modestas, would you like to walk us through with the first fight on the card? Indulge us. Who we got?
Yeah, so we've got a middleweight fight between Rodolfo Vieira and Wellington TURMAN.
Nice.
So,
let's see. Yeah, what's their record on the card? What they got? So we've got... Let's have a look here.
So we've got 8-1 for Rodolfo Vieira and 17-5 for TURMAN.
Yeah. Okay.
Both Brazilian.
Yeah, both from out Brazil. Interesting. Yeah. Now, look, as I'm aware, they're both pretty good wrestlers. You know a bit about Vieira, don't you? What do you know about Vieira?
Well, I think he's a world jiu-jitsu champion. Like, he's a very high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner. A lot of people are scared to really go on the floor with that guy, especially in I believe it was his UFC debut. He really put on a show in that sort of respect. Yeah. I think there was one fight that he had a loss actually by submission, but that it was because he gassed out from the. He tried so hard for the submission that he then ended up blowing it, and then after he ended up getting submitted. But then he made a massive improvement in this fight after that, which he then improved a lot in his striking, which you can tell he's been working on obviously a lot to try and eradicate that. So I mean, he's a very much improved fighter, and he's obviously got insane grappling credentials.
Man, that's a really good insight, actually. Yeah, and I have to agree on that. I've watched some tape on him this week, and he does seem quite exciting on the ground. But I do remember that fight you're talking about. Gassed his arms out a bit too early. But we've got some people's picks from people just chiming in, sort of saying what they think could happen here. I think we've got one from Tommy. So let's see what Tommy has to say about this particular matchup. And I'll jump over to the screen now.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? My predictions for UFC 270. So the first fight on the main card, we've got Vieira versus TURMAN, and I think Vieira takes this quite comfortably via submission. He's just a beast, isn't he, on the ground? So for that one, I'm going with that one.
All right. Thanks, Tommy. That's decent. So Tommy's chimed in there with a couple of, he thinks Vieira's going to take quite comfortably. He knows about his submission ability as well. He thinks it's going to be done on the ground. We've got Dr. Saw Peanuts, PhD. It's his name on Twitter, but we're getting trolled, I guess. So he goes Vieira around 1 sub, but TURMAN by late guillotine would be very funny. And then also we've got Vieira round 2 sub, and that was a comment coming in by Fish Knuckles, who's confident about that happening. So some people are confident on Vieira taking this one.
Yeah.
What would you say? I mean, if we scroll down and look at the significant strikes here or the grappling, where does these sort of advantages or disadvantages lie? I mean, landed per minute, it looks like TURMAN's got a better output, right? Significant strikes is pretty much on par, and absorbed, it's not too far different. Defense-wise, it looks like Vieira eats more strikes in terms of his defense not being that strong. So I think in terms of how you see this one playing out, we got to look into grappling, and we got to pay attention, I think, to that takedown defense. Because if you see there, it's 100% on both sides. Now, if you've got two wrestlers coming up against each other, how often do you see them just like slug it out on their feet instead of taking down? They don't really do takedowns, do they?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think like it's weird because from the stats, obviously, you'd think that from the striking side of things that TURMAN would have a bit of an advantage. And I said, that I think Vieira's striking has definitely improved, and that will hopefully be able to set up his grappling attack much better. But yeah, obviously they both got really good takedown defense, so it might be the case that they try going for the takedown. But I think Vieira's learned from that mistake of trying to go for that takedown too much and trying to really get on that jiu-jitsu instead of trying to take his time a little bit. So
he has, hasn't he? In his last outing, he sort of like left it till a bit more later on in the round before he did in the fight. Sorry, before he did the takedown, he almost like had a strict rule, no taking down in round one, and he sort of like did it all on his feet, and he sort of shot in this round two. So yeah, look, maybe he's got the same strategy here. I like him to sort of take those lessons into this fight, be a bit more, maybe try submit a more fatigued Wellington TURMAN rather than a fresh one in round 1 and 2. But yeah, I'm excited because none of these guys have been taken down before. So will it just remain standing throughout and with no one attempt to take down? That could be quite interesting. So
a striking battle between grapplers.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what tends to happen from time to time if you got two good grapplers up against each other. But what about is it fair to say this then? For example, if the fight was standing, it's in favor of Wellington or TURMAN. Do you think that's where TURMAN wants to do it? He wants to have this one standing.
I definitely think so, because obviously Vieira's got quite a heavy grappling advantage. Like his jiu-jitsu is next level, and like I say, he only got submitted because he got really tired. So, obviously I guess he'll try and pressure him. But there's another thing that's going into this fight, which is momentum. Wellington TURMAN is 1-3 in the UFC, and RODOLFO Vieira has just come off of a win. So, that's going to be another bit. Wait, sorry, is he 2-3? I can't remember what he is in the UFC, but I definitely know that Vieira's got more momentum going into that fight for sure.
Okay, right, fair enough. So in that case, then it's a tough one. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's get the gauge up and let's look at where. Let's break this down into some fundamentals. So we're going to look at striking, grappling, power, speed, and cardio. So if I was to say striking, who would you think that goes to? TURMAN or Fiera?
We've got to go for TURMAN.
I'd agree on that one. I think TURMAN takes that one. And in grappling, who gets that one between the two? Like Vieira. Yep.
Yeah.
And then power, who gets power?
Probably TURMAN, man.
Yeah. Do we have numbers on knockouts and TKOs, win by? I guess it's.
I was looking
percentage.
At TKO percentage is 24%.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So in that case, we'll go Wellington on that one. All right. Speed. Who's going to be fastest?
Depends. Speed on striking, speed on takedowns and submissions and stuff like that. So that is a well. Do you know what? If we go for speed, because the average fight time for TURMAN's longer, we'll go for Vieira.
Fiera on speed, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then cardio. Who gets cardio? I've seen Fiera gas.
Yeah, we'll go for TURMAN on that one.
Yeah, I'll go TURMAN on cardio
because he's been in the cage longer. So
yeah, true, good point. Yeah, he's got more mileage. So if we looked at that, it actually sides on TURMAN. He's got 3 to Vieira's 2. Now, I guess the big thing here is, if you was to lock one in, would you go on TURMAN on it? On paper, it looks like TURMAN's got the advantages here. But has Vieira got something that's unquantifiable? Like you said, momentum or maybe there's heart. Do you think it's going to be Vieira who takes it? How would you call this one if you had to?
Do you know what? If it was early on, Vieira. If it's later rounds, TURMAN. We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
That's a That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I think if I was to lock one of these ones in, and it could change in a day or so, I don't know, but I'll probably go with Vieira on it. Although he's 2 to TURMAN's 3 on the little averages card here. I don't know, I just feel like there is something unquantifiable about this guy, and he's got that sort of strength, and he's got his number. He's going to be able to get to the ground and sort of ride things out there, I think.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's that one done. We're going to check into the next fight on the card. So let's go back to who's next. This is Cody Stamen.
Good
Walk
fighter.
walk us into him.
Oh, right. Sorry. The next fight, my bad. It's my bad. I literally went to sleep there for a minute. Lapse of concentration. God. Cody Stamen versus Saeed Nurmagomedov, and this is a bantamweight fight.
Yeah. And records here, we've got 19,
4-1,
yeah,
and 14-2.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right, we've got some picks here on the channel, so let's run those picks, and then we'll come back and see a little bit more about these two. One thing I will say, actually, before we do get in those picks, I've seen some tape on Saeed Nurmagomedov. This guy's got a lot of spinning weaponry. You know, I can tell you, he spins around with fists, kicks, and all sorts. But this is different. This is very much grappler versus striker, so slightly different to the first matchup. Let's see what the people had to say on the pick side.
Hello, crew at ATF. How's everybody doing? Going to be a good week of fights. Before I get into the main card, I just want to give a shout out to both Canadians that are fighting. They put them up against pretty tough opponents. You know, odds-wise, they're not expected to win, but I'm voting for both of them because, you know, this is what it's about. Anyways, moving on to the first fight of the main card, Cody Stamen versus Saeed Nurmagomedov. I have Saeed winning via decision. It's possible he could get the finish, but I think Cody is tough enough to stay alive and stay in there.
Next fight is Cody Stamen versus Saeed. I'm unsure on this one. I'm leaning towards Stamen. He's a durable fighter. He's had a few wins by a knockout, 6. So, for that reason, I'm going to pick Cody Stamen.
Nice. Okay, cool. So that was both Taylor and Tommy. Thanks for sending your picks, guys. That is for Cody Stamen. Both of them as well. They don't have any faith in the striking ability or the spinning weaponry of Saeed Nurmagomedov, you know, or that name clearly doesn't sort of carry much weight with him. They're not, just to clarify, they're not related, are they?
I don't think so. No. I don't believe so. But yeah, obviously, still the name that always comes through always rings bells as soon as it goes into the UFC.
Yeah.
Anytime you've got Nurmagomedov, you're like, oh wow,
yeah,
we've got to take notice to this person. You know?
And yeah, right, absolutely. I can tell you though, I know him and Zabit, and that's another last sort of Dagestani name I can't quite pronounce. But Zabit, who was in number 3, he's been removed from the rankings because of inactivity, but he was they trained together, Saeed and Zabit, which was quite exciting.
Right. Yeah.
So you might see some shades of him in terms of how he fights as well. So I don't know if that's shaking up anyone's picks just by hearing that. You know, Zabit was a badass, he beat Cater, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So what's your thoughts on these two? So you got Cody Stamen, who's, you know, he's strong and he's a bit of a grappler, and you got someone like Zabit, who doesn't necessarily have the strength, but he's fast and he's a bit more of a striker. If you're looking at the numbers, let's sort of break down significant strikes and grappling. Where does the clear advantages lie? Do you think Zabit's going to be playing? It's not Zabit. Saeed is going to be playing.
Saeed seems to sort of land more per minute.
Yeah.
Their significant strikes landed are actually exactly the same.
Yeah.
Saeed has absorbed less per minute, and the defense is slightly better on Saeed's side. So yeah, obviously, if you got a striking advantage, it probably goes slightly in favor of Nurmagomedov.
Good point. Yeah, I'm actually a bit baffled by that as well, though, because Nurmagomedov he's a bit of a rangier striker. That's probably why. But he's more of a striker than he is a grappler. So I would have thought he would have more absorbed strikes, having to be more his bread and butter than someone like Cody Stamen. But then again, I guess the reason for that is because he is a pretty rangier striker, and Cody's a bit more of a stand and brawl guy. Could Nurmagomedov stay away from him, I wonder? What's the grappling like? So, oh wow, look at that. Takedown average, 2.84. So it just spells it out there, doesn't it? Looking at the takedowns, you know, Cody's is good for takedowns, and Nurmagomedov is someone who doesn't do that often at all.
Yeah, 7% takedown accuracy as opposed to 44% on Cody's side. Takedown defense is still pretty similar from both ends, but yeah, it's just a clear striker versus grappler sort of matchup. I'm guessing if Saeed is trained with Zabit, he's going to be coming out with all sorts of crazy stuff. And do you know what? Zabit's actually got really good sambo, and he's mixed that up really good. So I'm wondering if those are sort of, again, tactics that Saeed would use. But again, Cody is like a very good traditional, freestyle type wrestler. So
I think he's got NCAA wrestling.
He's a little bit shorter as well, so he'll be able to duck underneath for takedowns more. And I think, honestly, the absorbed strikes, Cody's probably absorbed more strikes from trying to get into that takedown. If you know what I mean, like trying to get into those close quarters and stuff like that. You're gonna have to absorb more strikes in order to be able to get to where you want to, from a grappler's point of view. And obviously, Sade, if you're playing more from the outside, you're not going to absorb quite as much as if you're in the pocket trying to get more takedowns, which obviously Cody has that advantage.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. Okay, fair enough. Then do you reckon, I guess looking at that, I mean, I've got a question actually just for you. You've been in the octagon, you've been in many fights, but who do you prefer to stand opposite the octagon from? Strikers or wrestlers?
Probably wrestlers.
You prefer?
I don't know. Like, to be honest with you, I do really enjoy going up against strikers. But because I've always been notoriously late to pull the trigger, or it takes me too much time to get into a fight, I've ended up in the UFC not doing that well. Where against wrestlers, because they're trying to time the takedown, they're being a bit more weary. It gives me more time to sort of settle into the fight, which is definitely something that I'm going to be working on behind the scenes. So yeah, I would obviously definitely prefer to stand in front of a wrestler, if you're judging by my last fights. But if we're going into the future, mate, it doesn't matter who it is going to stand in front of me.
Yeah. Okay. No, fair enough. No, great for that insight. That's awesome. Okay, cool. All right, let's get into some advantage gauges, and let's see where it lies. So we're looking at striking, grappling, power, speed, and cardio again. So let's do the maths. Striking, who'd you give that to?
Saeed.
I would do exactly the same. Yeah, he's got that sort of reach range. His reach is what? It's
6 inches.
6 inches reach advantage. Yeah. Okay. So
sorry, 5.5. 5.5. Yeah.
Okay. Every inch counts. That's what she tells me. So grappling.
That's why she's always disappointed with me.
I mean, there's not many of them. Oh man, that just slipped out. That's what she said. Grappling. So who gets that one? Who goes for grappling? Would you give that? I'll go Stamen on that one, I think, and I'm sure you'll say the same.
Yeah, Stamen grappling. Yeah.
Now power. Stamen. I think so.
I think we've got to go for Stamen on that one. Yeah.
I think Stamen goes to power on that. I do. I just look at the size of the guy's arms. And then speed though. I'll go Saeed.
I'll go Saeed as well, actually. Yeah. I'm definitely going to agree with you on that.
And then cardio. This one could be a toss-up. I'm just trying to remember.
I'm going to look at again overall fight time. So that would be an advantage for Stamen. I mean, look, you've got to have quite decent amount of cardio to be able to wrestle a lot in a fight, to be able to get to and continue to obviously keep striking. I don't know. I think for cardio, probably go for Stamen as well.
Stamen for cardio, yeah. That's a toss-up for me. I would have thought maybe Stamen's a bit of a bigger engine to run, so it might. But then Saeed, someone who's he might have a bit of bad cardio. But we'll go Stamen on that one. It's a toss-up for me, and I can agree on that. To be fair, in terms of mileage, he's certainly seen the distance enough times. So if you look at the numbers there, it looks like it sides with Stamen to take that card 3-2. That's what the MMA math says, but MMA maths isn't always right, unfortunately. So are you confident with that, how that looks, or would you sort of still feel there's something more unsaid about Saeed?
I always do like leaning more towards a striker, just because obviously that's more my background.
Yeah.
You know, I always would like to see a striker do well against a grappler. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
I've seen a Nurmagomedov fight, and you know he has got some quite intricate striking and stuff like that. But I think Stamen's wrestling will probably. I've seen Stamen. I believe he fought Tom Duquesnoy back in the day.
Right. Okay.
And he managed to really neutralize him. And I don't know, ever since that fight, I've seen a very similar sort of style. So I think, you know, if he can, you know, apply that to this fight, I think Stamen will have it.
Nice. Okay. Cool. I love to see it. I would love to see it. It's really hard one to say, but yeah, I would like to think that Nurmagomedov has the weaponry to keep him away. Although, actually, then it just sort of makes me think that he has a weaponry to get himself in trouble as well. Those spinning attacks exposes the hips. Stamen gets a takedown, on well-timed takedown. You know, he's riding that rest around on the ground. So maybe Stamen is a wise choice. But all right, let's get into the next one on the card. I'll pop these guys away, and then we'll get up the view here. So we are on to fight 3. MICHEL, walk us into it.
Right, so we've got MICHEL PEREIRA Lima versus Andre Fialho, I believe. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly.
I think it's about right, but he's unheard in UFC. This guy's debut, I believe. Yeah,
it's a welterweight matchup as well. So Pereira 26-11 with 2 no contests, and Fialho 14-3 with 1 no contest. And again, Portuguese-speaking fighters. 1 Brazilian, 1 Portuguese.
Okay, right, yeah. So they're of the similar tongue. But then you got reach wise. Okay, numbers that haven't really come through on the UFC for Andre. He's that fresh. He's that new. He's got no pictures, and some of the numbers are lacking there as well. But I have seen this guy fight a few. He's got some aggression in him, some mean intentions. He's sort of like when his opponent's up against the fence, he sort of lets his hands go and does some dangerous things, scary things, I think. But then MICHEL PEREIRA, he's got a bit of unorthodox movement. You know, he's got a bit of an unorthodox style and movement about him. Capoeira looking like, he moves a lot. But let's see what the people had to say about this particular matchup then, and then we'll come back and break down what our thoughts are. I'll jump over to the screen.
But I have Pereira winning via KO or TKO in round 2. I think he'll be able to survive the first round, but I think after that, MICHEL will begin to overwhelm him. But then again, Pereira could get gassed, like he does from time to time, so we'll see how that goes. But I have Pereira.
The next fight, MICHEL PEREIRA versus Andre Fialho. Probably botched that one. I'm going to be honest, I've never heard of Fialho before, so I'm going MICHEL PEREIRA with that one.
So another 2 for Pereira. Okay, so no one's really gone with Andre. Maybe not people have seen him fight before, but I mean, we're going to be quite starved with statistics for this guy just because he is completely new to the UFC. But we can say a little bit about him based on sort of what we've seen from, or what I've been able to see from some tapes before in the past. It might be a quick one just to run through, really. But look at the numbers there for TKO and KO average. It looks like power is someone that is sides with someone like, you know, I want to say Pereira, Andre, doesn't it? 79%.
Yeah. No, that's a massive KO ratio.
It is, isn't it?
How many wins has he got?
It stands out.
Yeah. So he's definitely got power in his hands for sure.
He does. We don't really have any other numbers to go off here, but just to sort of give a bit of an idea, we can look at how we expect this fight to play out based on what we know about Pereira. You know, he's got 100% takedown defense. You know, this guy, he's quite a rangy fighter. And he has this unorthodox movement. He sort of makes it quite hesitant for you to get your shots off. Have you ever come up against a fighter in the octagon where you've just been, they just annoyed you because they're doing so many movements, you just don't know what's coming?
Do you know what? I think Oleg Shaychuk was a guy who moved around a lot, but he just kept on pressing forward most of the time. So, you know, that was hard to deal with because, I mean, if you saw in his last fight, he fought like an undefeated Russian and, you know, walked him down the whole time and, you know, got him tired. That's essentially what he's trying to do against me inside a smaller cage as well. So, yeah, someone who's got a lot of unorthodox movement and stuff like that is stuff that you don't normally see in a gym. Like you have to have, you know, it's hard to find sparring partners to be able to imitate the movement and stuff like that. Sometimes all those big movements can drain on your cardio. But obviously, if that's a normal style that you fight with, your like, for example, like Prohaska, he moves around a lot.
Yeah,
you know, then you can get on with that and you know, be able to impose your will on there. You have noticed in his last couple of fights with Pereira, he has slowed down his crazy antics where he does backflips and all sorts. So
I think Dana told him off a good couple of times, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he might you know, he might be a lot more composed going in there, and you know, that awkwardness is definitely going to be something that's going to be an advantage for him for sure.
Nice. We got Taylor Young chiming in there in chat. He says second round KO by Pereira. He's confident that his artillery is just going to be that much for this guy, and that's strong coming from you, Taylor, because the guy Andre's got a massive knockout ratio. Look at that, 79% to Pereira's 38%. What do you think about that particular prediction, Modestas? I mean, I know there's not much to go with on looking at Andre's stats, but do you think this is likely to be something to go to distance? Do you feel like just knowing what we know about Pereira, he could get it done early? Not saying around or early.
This is a big fight to go in on your debut. I will be the first one to tell you that you may have the skill set to go and beat a particular opponent, but fighting on a big stage, on a big card, loads of people, your first UFC event, that, I mean, you know, if you can handle that sort of pressure, fighting against a, you know, really top ranked opponent in your first UFC fight, then all credit goes to you. But, you know, you got a lot of experience going to Pereira's side. Obviously, but you can never count out. You know, like you said, we don't really know much about this Andre guy. So, you know, like obviously, you know, you got Pereira, who's got, like I said, the experience, and you know, he's had more cage time in the UFC and stuff like that. But you know, who knows? This guy may be able to catch him with some shots, because sometimes, you know, Pereira releases himself open, even with all this movement, his head goes swinging around from place to place. The movement will help him get him out of trouble, but could also get him into trouble, and especially a guy with such a, you know, high ratio for knockouts, you know, one punch could end it all. But the thing is, I think the thing that's, you know, sort of mysterious is we really don't know much about this guy. So
that's true.
We're only going off of the previous performances, his notoriety, and his athleticism. So, like I say, it's kind of up in there on that. But if you are going to go predictions wise, you probably would go more towards Pereira, just because he's more well known. People have seen him fight, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'll go against. I would confidently back a composed Pereira, I think. But yeah, other than that, I feel like it's difficult to say for that exact reason, as you say. Yeah, but Pereira could potentially get himself in trouble if he moves too much and gets too flamboyant with his movement, as we've seen him do before. Just got lucky enough not to get caught. We're looking at the gauges then, striking wise. I'm happy to go with, I think how this would look is going to be Pereira striking. I think grappling wise, I'll give it the advantage over to Andre, because he tends to like get his opponents up against the fence, then sort of shoot after a couple of shots. So yeah, I'll give Andre grappling, and then Andre power as well, because his knockout numbers there. But speed now, would you be happy to go Pereira with that?
I think I would. He's very explosive. So I'll definitely give that one to Pereira for sure.
And then cardio? Who would get that
one? Pereira's gassed out. That's why he has certain fights. So, I
mean, again, him against Nico Price, that fight was a fire fight last year. I really love to watch that. And Nico Price was just, he had the cardio for days, and Pereira was showing some fatigue. So it's hard.
Like I say, we just don't know much about this guy. So
true.
Like, I have seen an improvement in Pereira's cardio. But like I said, if I knew more about the other guy, I would go for Andre. But you know, since I don't, I'm going to go for Pereira.
Yeah, for cardio. Fair enough. I was going to say, look, even if, you know, let's say the UFC can't even put all the stats in, maybe we don't have to put all the stats in, but, you know, if they don't know enough about it, then of course we don't. But other than that, yeah, look, that's quite impressive. It looks like Pereira might edge this one based on what the numbers say in the MMA maths. A lot of our picks gone from Pereira as well, but we do have a dark horse on the other side of the octagon. And for someone to come into the UFC on their debut and fight someone as tough competition as Pereira, they have to be good. So, not at all going to be counting this guy out. But I think he did step in last minute as well, didn't he?
Yeah, it was last minute. Yeah,
there's a couple of changes. So, yeah, that always when that happens, I tend to go with the favorite.
Yeah, 100%.
That reason. All right. So next one up, we're going to be checking back on the card. We're now the co-main event. Cool. Yeah, we're there. Brandon Moreno. Go on, walk us through it.
Yeah, so we've got Brandon Moreno, the assassin baby, versus Deiveson Figueiredo, sorry.
Yeah.
Brandon Moreno, 19-5-2, and Figueiredo, 22-1. One's Mexican, the other one's Brazilian.
Yeah.
Really good fight.
Not much differences in reach here. I mean, about 2 inches going towards Moreno. We've seen these guys fight in the octagon before. It was a bloody battle, but of course ended in submission by Moreno, as we know. But would it be? This is a trilogy, isn't it? We're going to be signing here tonight on the weekend. So yeah, we'll have to see how this one plans out. But would it be the same thing? Would it go to distance? I'm interested. However this fight goes, I'm just excited to see it. I reckon it's going to be. I guess there's one thing. Yeah, I reckon it might be better out of the other two. The best one out of all three. This might be the best one. This might be the best one. Let's see what the people have to say about it in the picks.
Hey fight fans, Big B from Bowls, Beers and Brawls. Some UFC 270 fight picks coming at you from Canada. So for the co-main, Brandon Moreno versus Deiveson Figueiredo. I've went back and forth all morning on this one, but in the end, I think Figueiredo is going to squeak out a close decision victory here. Main factor is I just think he's in way better shape this time around, and I think he has also learned from his mistakes.
For the co-main, I'm also back in the second round KO, this time for Figgy. I think fight should be much more entertaining. That first round, I can see him both standing and banging, really entertaining one. But in the second, I think Figgy's power is just going to be a bit too much for Moreno. So back in Figgy to win his belt back. Either way, should be really exciting. Hope you guys enjoy the fights and speak soon.
Okay, there we go. So that was 2 videos there from both Big B, Bowls, Beers and Brawls, and of course Edward J MMA. Thanks again, guys, for sending in your picks. Really well put together. I love that. And also we've got some points here on the Twitter channel from MMA Goat. He said, man, I'm putting my house on it. Let's go. So that is for Figueiredo to get the win. Basically, we asked the question in our channels, and this is basically what they've been coming back and saying. Yes, 100% Figueiredo is getting the strap back. So a lot of people confident, and everyone's really gone on one side here for Figueiredo. Could we stir up a little bit? Is there anyone going for Moreno? Let me know in the chats. We've got Ash in the chat saying Figgy second round, Taylor Young saying Figgy third round, and then we've got Meduzi saying Figgy as well. Okay, so a lot of us are going for Figgy. I don't know one person who's going for Moreno except for me, but you know. Yeah, right? I know. It's crazy. All right, let's look at some of the numbers, right? So in terms of significant strikes and grappling, these guys have been pretty evenly matched. You know, that's just been the story from the very beginning. Like we saw the first fight, evenly matched, as even as it can get. Second fight, I don't know. I just felt like Figueiredo was a little bit off that day. But you know, when he's on point, you know, they come out really close. The margins are just really tight. So in terms of strikes wise, can we see any big obvious differences here? Do you reckon they're quite even on their striking?
Significant strikes, you know, have seems to be going towards Figueiredo's side in terms of the amounts that's landed. But weirdly enough, the amount of strikes landed per minute is more for Moreno, and
just slightly,
Moreno's absorbed. Moreno's absorbed slightly less, but yeah, I mean, like you say, it's pretty even on both sides. Moreno's got a bit slightly better defense for significant strikes, so yeah, but this is why it's such an interesting fight, because like you said, it's so very evenly matched.
Yeah, it is. What about in the grappling? Do you reckon we can see a big obvious sort of average here? So these averages come out again pretty even. We got takedowns higher for someone like Moreno, but submissions are higher for someone like Figueiredo. So again, we're looking at something that's pretty dead even. I don't know how how to call this one. It looks really tight. It's probably going to be one of the toughest ones to call on the card. But although a lot of people seem to be dead certain Figgy's going to do it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to see that the submission average for Figgy is more when Moreno actually ended up submitting him.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like, you know, yeah, it's a bit weird, man. Like, but obviously you can see. I mean, I even watched that last fight. I mean, you know, Moreno's grappling was very smooth in that second fight. So
yeah,
you know, you can see like he clearly knows his stuff, and you know, I think, especially from Figgy's side, I mean, I understand that obviously you got to put certain things on the past, but you know what I mean? It's like this guy, you know, on the floor managed to overwhelm you and then managed to get the submission. So those thoughts are still going to be playing in your head, as much as obviously you want to improve and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are still going to be running in the back of your head, and you know, maybe that might play a small factor. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, do you agree with me when I said I felt like Figgy was a little bit off his game in that second fight? He wasn't sort of 100%.
I think so. I mean, especially when you look at how close the first fight was, and then literally, you know, if you look at it like on paper, you know, submission victory, you're thinking bloody hell, he got blown out the water. So, maybe something personal had an impact.
And Moreno's got that sort of like Rocky story, hasn't he? You know, he's really sort of been on the grind to sort of get that strap, and he's done really well to get it. And sometimes I tend to think that, you know, someone who's not, you know, could mentality really come into it, you know, massively. You know, if Figgy could be off his game in that second bout, could he be off his game again in his third? For someone like Moreno, could he be hungry enough to keep it? You know, he's tasting the stardom for the first time. You know, this feels like comfort zone for Figgy.
Yeah. Obviously, he's had more experience as the champion in this Moreno. But you look at how hungry Moreno was. I mean, you know, he got cut from the UFC, got re-signed, and then goes on a win streak and wins the strap. So he's got a lot of those. Again, momentum is a big part of this game. Mentality is another big part of this game, and he's got both of those. Like, he's got the whole country of Mexico on his back. Like, you know, obviously he's been doing more media obligations, but with more sponsors, with more things coming your way, you know, it can either push you further to want to make you try and achieve more and do more and think, you know what, I'm not done here. This is just motivating me even more. Or it could put you through it's weird because you don't actually see it quite as much now. You don't see it as much in MMA as you do in like traditional, like early in boxing, where you know, if you're winning loads of fights, you go out and party a lot. It seems like over here, you know, Moreno seems to have been keeping his head down and, like, you know, he's a very humble fighter.
He is,
and you know, I definitely think the edge of, you know, I've worked so hard to get this, I don't want to lose it. But obviously the same on the other side, motivated. It's like, crap, I worked so hard to get the title, I've lost it now, I need to go and get it back. So there's a high motivation from both sides, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. Really well put as well. Yeah, some great background there on Moreno himself. You know, he's, you know, hence why he's got that sort of story, and I seem like the Rocky kid. But let's look at the gauges, and let's see how they're sort of like, in terms of if it was to give striking, grappling power to either side. Oh, this is gonna be a nightmare. I don't want to do this. Striking. Who gets striking? Do we give it to blue corner, red corner? Moreno get this, or Figgy? It's gonna be hard. I mean, power. I might go Figgy. I might go Figgy on power, but then it might make me want to sort of. I'll go Figgy.
Moreno landed some really good shots in that second fight. This is what I mean. If you're basing it off of the last fight, a lot of these things are going to go more towards Moreno's side. But then obviously, if you look at overall, like the first fight was so damn close. So, you know, it's hard. You know, I'm going to give the striking to Moreno.
Moreno and striking, yeah. Okay, I'll side with you on that one. Yep, red corner gets that. And then grappling. I mean, we're pretty torn here because we had takedown higher for someone like Moreno, but submission down there for someone like Figgy significantly higher. So takedown accuracy, takedown defense. Who gets this one? Who goes with grappling, do you reckon?
I think I'll go again for Moreno.
Yeah.
Again, just because of what he did in the last fight, and again, loads of highlights from obviously the first. I think he just seems to have that advantage again. From both sides, man. Honestly, I don't know if I'm a bit of a Moreno fanboy, especially because of what of his story and stuff like that. It's very motivating for me. But yeah, now like he's got a hell of a lot of heart as well, man. Like all those things play a big factor when it comes to striking and grappling. I think.
Yeah, we've got Ash there in the chats just resonating strongly with that. He said Mexican heart. So yeah, he also believes in it as much as you. All right, so power then though. Would he get power? Would you give 3 in a row to Moreno? Well, that rhymes. Damn it.
That was unplanned, right?
It was, yeah. I didn't even plan that. I had
it written down on a piece of paper. I'm waiting for this.
Cannot wait for it. You can't write that stuff. All right. So so power though. Would you go for Moreno or Figgy? I would be inclined to go Figgy on power.
I think I'll go for Figueiredo, and as well, I mean, the assassin baby. I think Moreno's the same age as me. I think he might be a little bit younger. So I think Figueiredo's more in his athletic prime. So I guess you could say for power, maybe would go for Figueiredo.
Figueiredo, yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. I'll side with you on that one. And then speed.
Speed.
I mean, if Figueiredo does what he did as the last outing, no, he doesn't get it. But it was a bit off his game. It's not usually like that.
Yeah. Come on, we'll give it. You've got to give speed to Moreno again. I don't know. It's just his last performance was so amazing. Like it completely trumps everything else.
It was a heart-driven performance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I might go if I go speed Figgy and then cardio though, might have to go to Moreno on it just because that. His engine's just different from everyone else's.
Yeah. So I
might have to go that because I think usually Figgy's got some speed. He does. I mean, Moreno's not slow either. It's tough. This could go either way. To be fair, on the speed count. But on cardio, I would love to go Moreno just because what you said earlier in terms of his Mexican heart. He just seems to, when his body gives up, he's just got something else that just reignites it and keeps going.
Yeah, 100%. And you even saw that in his Ultimate Fighter outing as well. So, like I say, he's been from a very long time. He's had that a massive heart factor, and he's never given up, and he's learned a hell of a lot of lessons. Which is why I say it's very inspiring for me also to see someone like that. So that's why obviously I'm siding with Moreno. Gotcha.
All right. Well, on paper, as it looks here, red corner's got 3 ticks, and then blue corner's got just a 2. So, I mean, that's the MMA maths here. I think grappling can also go either way. Striking can go either way. It's just so tight and close between the two. But however you sort of have got it planned out, I do like Moreno for this. Just because that one thing that's just unquantifiable. You can't measure it on the gauge like this. And that's the just sort of grit, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with you on that.
All right. But yeah, but I think everyone else is going for Figgy, but I'm on for you, man. I quite like Moreno. All right. So we're going to go into the next fight in the card, and this is the main event of the evening. Do you want to walk us in?
The heavyweight title fight between the Predator, Francis Ngannou. Absolute unit, by the way. I saw him in real life, and I was like, are there even these humans that roam around this earth? He is an absolute unit. Because he had a shirt off for the weigh-in. Because I thought that it was when I fought Oleg Shachuk. Obviously, he was fighting Stipe on the same card. And mate, I just saw him in his back was like a freaking brick house. I'm like, so any thoughts about moving up to heavyweight?
Yeah. Just have one look at that and just be like, seriously. Seriously.
So he's got a record of 16-3, and Bon Gamin, CIRYL Gane, 10-0.
Yeah. Impressive sort of run in the UFC, hasn't he, CIRYL? But yeah, for sure. Cameroon and France fighting out of reach, not massively. I think, yeah,
2 inches.
Ngannu's got the 2-inch reach advantage on that one, which is quite interesting. I thought it was pretty equally paired. Have you seen Gane in real life?
Yes, I have as well. Funny enough,
He's also pretty hench, and he's a bit like a unit. He's like Anthony Joshua, sort of.
He is a unit. I don't know. For me, from what I can remember, because I saw Gane on when I was in Fight Island. I definitely, and I think his fight actually ended up getting cancelled. I believe. I think that was what happened with his fight on that particular card. But I think Ngannou is a little bit bigger, from what I remember, anyways.
Yeah.
But then again, I saw Ngannou with his top off getting ready for weigh-ins, and I saw Gane just chilling in his tracksuit. So obviously those two go into effect as well.
Yeah. No,
big units, both of them though.
I mean, pretty sure they both came out of the same lab.
MMA factory,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Built in the lab, aren't they? All right, let's get into some people's picks and see what everyone's got to say about this particular matchup then, shall we?
So in the main event, Francis Ngannou, CIRYL Gane, two big boys going at it in the octagon. This is going to be fucking fun. I personally think CIRYL's going to get this done. TKO. I got him TKO. I'm going to go 3rd round. Main factor is because they were sparring partners, training partners. I think that's a huge advantage to CIRYL here because he's felt Ngannou's strength and power, and it's not going to be a shock.
Hi guys, looking forward to UFC 270. I'm back in the 2 underdogs in the main and co-main. My non-expert prediction on how the main plays out is I think the first round could potentially be a bit of a dead rubber fight, with both fighters feeling each other out, maybe Ngannou-Lewis style fight. But the second round should be more entertaining. I think there's going to be a few exchanges, and maybe in an exchange which involves a clinch, I can see Francis just catching him with a right. Flurry of punches later, and I think Ngannou gets a KO win in that second round.
Well, I'm kind of split on this. I think Gane really does have the capability in the striking and, the control of distance to deal with Francis. Not to mention, previously sparring the guy gives you a pretty big advantage over fighting him. You know what I mean? You're used to feeling what he feels like in the ring, the pressure that he exerts. It's not a real fight, but, it's better than not sparring a guy at all. So he definitely has the capability to get it done. But then there's also the X factor that if Francis literally connects once, and it doesn't even have to be a clean shot, it can just be a clip. It could be all over. So I actually voted Francis via knockout. I don't know why. I got a bad feeling for Gane. I think he's going to get knocked out. But I think it could go either way. I think it's 50-50, to be honest. But I think Francis's X factor is just going to give him the edge in this fight. Anyways, those are my picks, guys. Looking forward to seeing you in the night. Take care.
All right. Wow. Okay. So some pretty decent picks there. So you got first and foremost, Big B. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for sending in your picks as well. But I went CIRYL Gane, I believe. And then I do remember, so Edward J. Jammer, he went for Francis Ngannou, and Taylor then had some really good points to back it up as well. He's gone with Francis Ngannou. He did think there's a bit of an advantage there with CIRYL Gane training with him before in the past, but ultimately he feels like he's going to get caught with that power. Ben Lawrence here through Twitter has also commented. He said it's a bit like deja vu. Go back and read the comments when he fought Lewis. It only takes one shot, ungodly power. Gane will get caught. Like, this is the exact fight, guys. Gane is going to win by TKO. I'll be buying my wife another new car with my winnings. So that's Ben Lawrence chiming in. Love his tweets always. And then, of course, you got UFC boys tweeting there saying Figgy is going to be new and he thinks Francis is going to be still. So he's quite dead set on those two outcomes in the main cards, in the main events of the evening there. But let's talk a little bit more about how we think it's going to go, because does it sound a bit like Lewis and Gane fight? Power versus someone who's got the longevity, the cardio.
Obviously Ngannou seems to be more of an athlete and a freak of nature. Obviously, he's got more devastating power. He's got more more knockouts against more heavyweights. So you've seen a massive, dramatic improvement of Ngannou over the last couple of fights, especially when he lost the first time to Stipe. You saw he had a much more composed approach the second time round when he fought him.
Yeah.
You know, he managed to stop the takedown also, which shows again a hell of a lot of improvement. I mean, you know, he lands one shot, he can knock anyone out. Gane takes more of a sort of a composed approach and just picks away and then lands the shots. And one thing that I find is his movement for a heavyweight isn't like really good. Like he's right up on his toes, moves around, pops the jab. You know, he takes his time. He doesn't rush. He seems to have a lot of skills. Like he's won by heel hook, you know, in one of his UFC fights. You know, none of them are really going to be going for takedowns too much. I think it's going to be more of a striking exchange. I think Ngannou has that one punch, like knockout power that, you know, Gane seems to not really quite have. He has more of that bang, 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 keep going, like, you know, like that Nick Diaz, like little peppering punches, and then, you know, it comes away at the end. But like I say, Gane's got that movement. So for this one for me was like really hard. When I was actually like thinking about who the hell do I think is going to win, it's like every day I'll change my opinion, you know. But if we're talking skill set wise overall, it seems like the more well-rounded fighter and the one with more movement, you know, from that kickboxing background is Gane. But if you're looking at freakish power, really good takedown defense, and just, you know, IQ for landing those big shots against, you know, like guys like Overeem, who's also a next level kickboxer, and he just landed that big shot on him. You know, he just has a way of finding his shots with MMA gloves, you know, like Ngannou. So again, Roizenstreek, another great striker.
20 seconds against.
You know, so but again, these guys are all a lot slower. Like Gane's a lot faster. And big cage, a lot of movement. I don't know. It's up in the air for me, man. Like once we break it down, I'll have a better opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I've got something to say about this one, because I have been gone on this for the longest time. And I know I've heard some things in this last week that's really got me, just baked my noodle. It's got me sort of twisting around in 360s. You know, honestly, I'm thinking, you know, you're right about that power. You got someone like Ngannou who does have power. He's got those uppercuts, which are devastating. And if Ngannou, if Gane sort of like changes levels at the wrong time and gets caught by one of them, it just takes one. You know, he's got to now go through. Now, some people might say he's got to survive. You know, he's got to be in there for 25 minutes and not get connected with one punch from Francis. It's near impossible. But let's be honest, Ngannou's got probably around 2 rounds of killer punches in him. And then after that, what he throws doesn't necessarily have that much devastating effect as it did in the first 2. His cardio, well, from what we've seen, hasn't been all up to scratch in there. So I feel like, look, Gane, ideally, I'd love it to play out like this. I'd love for Gane to sort of like be peppering and staying at distance for first round, second round, and then sort of do takedowns a bit later on in the fight, you know, where he's less likely to get caught with those uppercuts. So he has to be really careful in the first 3. But then we've seen a measured Ngannou before, and a patient Ngannou is a scary Ngannou. DC's words there, you know, and it's just so true. 100%. You know, he's going to come out here really wise to it. What about?
Go on.
What about the talks of what's happening with this fight outside of the octagon? Right. So if you sort of now look at Ngannou, who's someone whose contract's up, and then all that talk around him going to boxing and maybe fighting Fury, getting bigger money and bigger fights there elsewhere, you know, is it worth sort of rooting for the whole story of what Ngannou stands for and just, you know, something bigger than winning a fight like this? Because it sounds like he's got a lot going on. Yeah. So I guess 2 questions.
Do you know what? That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point that you say. Obviously, he's only got 1 fight left on his contract. He feels like he's being underpaid. He feels like she is worth a lot more, which I do agree with him. You got to look at the age. I think Ngannou is 35, 36, or he's going towards the end of his career, and he needs to make as much money as possible to sort himself, his family, and everyone else out. And listen, money runs out. You know, you got to have big money to make good investments in order for you to be able to have that security. But you need to have big money, which, you know, perhaps you know, depending on how many fights you have in your career, and especially your UFC career, you know, you need to have those really big paydays are the ones that are going to pay off, like for generational wealth and stuff like that. So obviously I can understand he's wanting to go into a Tyson Fury fight, because that's going to give him that finally that almost like that complete financial freedom for him and like his family for generations to come. But you know, in order for him to achieve that as well, in order for a fight of that magnitude to happen, he sort of has to win, doesn't he?
He does.
It's like, you know, he can't go into a Fury fight after a loss. No. So, you know, I don't know what the you know, if they have a rematch clause like for titles, or if you can then vacate it and then move on. So if those options are available to him, you know, he's got to give it everything in this fight to be able to win, because, you know, there are big opportunities for him to make big money of the few fights that he has left. A Tyson Fury fight could retire him and he'd be absolutely fine. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like in terms of how much money you could make. So, you know, there's a lot of you know, there's motivation obviously for Gane, you know, first time to win a massive world title, you know, and stuff like that. He's clearly very talented. He's got a lot of talent going his way.
He could take that title any time. If he doesn't take it tonight, he can take it another time this year, I reckon.
And he's got plenty of he's a little bit younger. I think he's like 32. So again, he's got a little bit more time on his side and stuff like that. So he's still got he's got more fights in him. You know, like I say, Ngannou's getting towards the end of how many fights he has left in him in his career, or how much he wants to fight within his career. You know, especially with that athleticism and everything that he's got at the minute. So, you know, from a motivation type standpoint, you could say potentially that Ngannou would be highly motivated to win from that point of view, but equally from the other side, you know, Gane, just for himself, like going back to France and, you know, him having all of that, and he's a very humble guy. I think his humbleness definitely works to his advantage. But they're both humble. Like, I don't know why. This seems like people have been put off by Ngannou for some reason, but I don't know. I feel like they're both very humble people. I think they're both very hardworking. They're obviously clearly both work on each other's particular assets. But you've seen a massive, dramatic improvement in Ngannou, whereas Gane has been very consistent. Yeah. So, you know, we might see Ngannou at his peak in terms of all the adjustments that he's made to be able to, you know, create this most amazing performance. And Gane could be, okay, well, this is me, like, you know, at literally where my skills are even more refined. So this is why it's so interesting, man, because I really, in this one, I would love to see what Francis and cardio is going to be like for 5 rounds, because I know Gane's going to want to push it to those later rounds.
That's the one, 100%. And you know, we've got some things in the chat here. It said Ben Lawrence said it's a TKO either way, in my opinion. We had Raven up there just commenting saying Gane TKO in the 3rd, and Taylor Young saying Gane round 4. So that's just a couple there. But do you feel like, who do you think is going to be most closest to the prediction? I mean, what do you think is going to be most likely outcome? Do you reckon it's going to be stoppage? Do you reckon it's going to go decision? Do you think it's going to be 3rd? Do you reckon it's going to be 4th round?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different outcomes in my head. Early on, definitely a stoppage for Ngannou. It would go more towards that. If it's a decision fight, more towards Gane. And again, later round, it could also be a stoppage for Gane. So I'm thinking earlier on, Francis is going to be a lot more dangerous. Later on, Gane would be able to take over more. That's my opinion.
So is this fight really just a question of survival? You know, getting out the first 3 rounds. If he can survive, you know, Bear Grylls it, then you know.
But do you know what? It's weird because as well, you look at you look at the Stipe fight, the second fight. Sorry, like you said, like more composure. But again, the work rate, the output from Stipe wasn't quite so much. Whereas Gane, we know he's going to have a lot of output.
Yeah, Stipe had a perfect strategy. He had the perfect strategy.
Yeah. So, you know, I think as well with the movement, he's not going to be quite as static. Like, it's hard to hit a moving target, especially one that like is elusive and moves. So, like I said, as much as I really do like Francis Ngannou, I think he's an amazing athlete, an amazing guy. But I just think stylistically, Gane seems to have the advantages in more areas.
That's it. Yeah. No, I think you could be right. I got one more question, then we'll get into like the gauge and see where the sort of different things sort of plan out. But, you know, Stipe did a bit of a blueprint as to how to beat Gane. You know, he had a perfect strategy, right? And then you got someone like Gane. Sorry, did I say Gane? I meant NGANNOU. Then you got Gane, who is going to come into this fight. Does he sort of copy the same approach that Stipe has, or do you feel like Francis patched those sort of weak areas in his game already? So, for example, if you're fighting against someone and you lose, the sort of the way that you lost, is that the first thing you focus on when you go back to the drawing board and start training? Do you start patch those areas, or do you sort of just hope that those scenarios don't come up again?
You sort of you got to look at it, like first thing is like from a skill at what lost you that fight. That's what you look at instantly. And then, like, you know, if we want to go into it, like, you know, in the Khalil fight, it's having to throw more fire in the pocket. Like, I was shooting a lot of singular shots that were landing and then I was evading. So my evasive movements were good, but but then when it got into the pocket, I needed to land more, and also I needed to go for a takedown. So these are things that it's like, why the hell, if you've got wrestling, why do you not use it? So it's like sometimes application is also a very difficult thing, especially when you're competing at the highest level. So but then that's obviously so you know exactly. So this is why I say as well, you know, you could work on it as much as you can, and clearly Francis was very good at applying those things. He learned from those lessons. He was able to apply it very well. So I'm pretty sure, you know, that with his coaching stuff and things like that, because of how well that was done, especially with the team that he's now training with, I'm pretty sure they'll have a good game plan made for Gane also, but vice versa, you know. So
yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things for that fight and that loss against Stipe is he did underestimate Stipe, and he said it in the post fight interview with when he spoke about it. But I think it was Rogan. But yeah, okay, no, fair enough. Yeah, good point. We should probably move on into the gauges as well now. And I wish there was one more thing on this gauge. So we've got striking, we've got grappling, power, speed, cardio, but I also want mentality to be one as well. Yeah. Mainly, partly because the losses we saw after he lost to Stipe on the you know, for NGANNOU, someone like Francis NGANNOU, you know, was against Derek Lewis, and that was probably one of the worst heavyweight fights we've ever seen, just in terms of the lack of output from both sides. But you know, something that Rogan was definitely saying from the side of the octagon was like, he doesn't really need to go to the gym and train on work on anything. He just needs a psychiatrist to work on his mentality, because, you know, after sort of coming off that loss, it sort of affected him. And I guess my question for this is, all that stuff that's happening outside of the UFC, does that sort of affect his mentality as well? Because he's got a lot to think about coming up. Is that going to play another factor into here as well? Don't know if the guys in their picks have thought about that, but I don't know. Shall we start with striking?
Yeah, let's start with striking.
So who gets the advantage here, striking wise?
You're looking at output and looking at a range of different strikes and technique. It's going to Gane, but if you're looking at I guess, like, see the things we could look at either from, if you're looking from technical ability, striking would go to Gane, but if you're looking at just brute like power and accuracy, I mean, I don't know.
Gane throws some down the middle. I think we should we'll probably put it in now, actually. We'll give power to Gane.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I think striking, just from the point that when he lands, you know, everything he hits, he destroys, sort of thing. Give it to NGANNOU for the striking.
You go striking NGANNOU, yeah. Well, what about in terms of diversity of attack? You know, you got someone
diversity of attack, 100% Gane. Yeah. Okay. Diversity of attack, like he can throw more things, and there's more of a technical ability from his kickboxing background. So, but okay, so if we put it to overall technical ability, give it to Gane. For the striking.
Okay. Gane gets striking. I've gone back and forth. Well, okay. Gane get, but then grappling as well. I mean, I guess Gane will get grappling too, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would, wouldn't he? Because especially with that takedown defense, 100%.
Mm-hmm. And speed? Who goes for speed?
Mate, you're gonna have to probably take my thing back for NGANNOU for striking.
Yeah,
yeah, because it's speed for Gane, and then NGANNOU gets the striking.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's sensible. I'll go with that. I think if we go for speed on Gane, because he is particularly fast, and when we got to cardio, I guess we'd have to go Gane as well, wouldn't we?
You have to gonna go. You're gonna have to go Gane as well.
On the cardio, but it's still quite devastating. It's still quite devastating. On the MMA maths, it looks like it's 3 to Gane in the blue corner, and then 2 to in NGANNOU, Francis in the red corner. That's striking and power. And yeah, look, I agree with you. He's got a bit of a diversity of offense, Gane, but part of that is the grappling ability he's got as well. But that power, although it looks like a small tick here on the screen, is actually far significant than you think with this particular person, because we all know what Gane can do. He can change fights with one. So that's what makes this a big, bad event, which is going to be quite exciting.
100%.
Yeah. We've got Ashley chiming in there. He thinks striking to Ngannou. And then basically we've got like a mixture of comments there. Taylor Young saying, I think Ngannou's mental state is going to be playing a role in his downfall. Oh, and then he says a mixture of pressure and overlooking Gane. Yeah, so he feels like he's going to overlook Gane, and he feels like his mentality. So if we did have a little gauge here, we'll probably put mentality on there as well. But but yeah, he thinks that Ngannou's probably going to be falling short to that as well.
There's so many things. I don't know if you could, like, even with the mentality side, you could say potentially, is there an extra fire for him to prove his worth? Like, because he feels he's getting underpaid, he feels he's not getting his respect. Do you feel like he wants to earn that respect and then leave? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there might be a lot of things behind it. You don't know. Like, if I would ever give anything mentality wise, I don't know. I'll probably give Ngannou more of the aggression factor.
Oh,
sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I'll probably give Gane more of the aggression factor in terms of like his mentality is like, do you know what? Like, because I remember when I fought Hamlet, I had a lot of like, I was like, all you motherfuckers are already thinking that I'm out of this. Like, there's no way I'm going to win. He's going to win it easy. Like, already counting me out. That gives you an extra fire. So perhaps Ngannou may have that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Moreno had that in this matchup against Figueiredo. I mean, that was an example of just complacency. People do get that. I mean, it's a wonder if Francis has won lessons. But I think there's 2 fights going on here. You've got that sort of outside the octagon big battle with, the fighter pay and, just sort of achieving completely new things that, a whole new trajectory. I mean, he's got an opportunity to sort of cut in a whole entire new lane here, Francis Ngannou, hasn't he? After if he wins this and steps into boxing and steps into more money, he's really just created a lane for other UFC fighters to potentially follow in the future as well. Work their way to the top, get some popularity, step in some big fights, exhibitions, that sort of thing, and all sorts. And as part of me wants to see that happen, I'm excited by that. I think that's going to be pretty cool. But then at the same time, CIRYL Gane, I might have to, I don't know. I think logically I can see, I feel like Ngannou has got a lot more riding on his win. And I'd love to see that sort of play out, given his sort of background of where he does come from, and his fantastic story. But it's tough when you got 2 people just sort of doing fantastically well in the UFC in such a short reign of time. Someone like Gane who picked up fighting later on in his years, and someone like Gane who's just sort of walked into the division and walked up to the podium in like easy succession and no losses. It's pretty cool. So it's tough, definitely tough, but gonna be a good fight nonetheless, and I can't wait to see it. Honestly, it's gonna be absolutely fire. There was one thing I wanted to get into, but probably time to sort of wrap up the show and call it one. But I did want to sort of ask a question of like weaknesses. I mean, if cardio is a weakness for Ngannou, what's the weakness for CIRYL Gane, do you think? With no losses, we've not seen a weakness yet, have we?
Yeah, he seems pretty all-rounded. The only place I could potentially see it maybe there being a weakness is his head movement. But it's like with everyone, sometimes you've got to move, obviously with head movement, it's like very fine lines between whether you get caught and clipped with a big shot or, he's very good at evading. But if Francis with his, I think he's got slightly longer reach, is able to get over the top and land a big shot, like there's that weakness of maybe keeping the head out, trying to get out of the way of the punch and then something landing. So, I mean, I haven't really, it's hard to think what that, the weakness maybe could be that he's not getting stuck in straight away. Maybe Ngannou will come out a little bit more aggressive and Gane might be looking to take his time, and then that fire could then potentially get caught. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what their game plan is going to be? But I would say that then maybe.
Yeah, could be hesitancy. Yeah, just sort of latency to get going. Yeah, it could really be. All right. Well, no, thanks for your thoughts and your input, and look, thanks for spending the time to just jump on the channel as well, man. That's just pretty awesome to be able to do this with you, just walking through the fights and just getting some insight from a UFC fighter's perspective. You know, straight from the horse's mouth. You've been in there, you've been in the octagon, you know what it's like, and also to understand what challenges you guys go through outside the octagon in terms of training and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to run through this card with you. I think that's all we've got time for anyway, so we'll just wrap it up and just say thanks to absolutely everyone who sent in your picks for today as well. If you didn't get a chance to do that, again, you got UFC 271, which is our next card pay-per-view event in the year that we'll be able to do this for. And we'll be doing, once again, the People's Pick Show on the Thursday preceding that card. So feel free to get your picks sent on into the email address down in the description below for all of that. But yeah, time to say goodbye to Modestas, and then as well, for anyone else who's going to be joining us for this weekend, we're doing the full watch along on Saturday night. So do chime on in to see us. We'll be all up here in the hide, so that'll be JK, me, and Ash doing the full watch along from start to stop of the main card on the event. So if you want to see some really good reactions, some really good fighter breakdowns, we'll be providing all of that this Saturday at 3 a.m. UK time. Yeah, so we're going to be getting a bit of a kip and getting up early for that. But yeah, we're strapped in. We're locked in for a good one. It's going to be exciting. Okay, aside from that, if you guys haven't done already, we've got a Discord channel you can jump into. Links are all going to be in the description below. And also the Fight Picks League. This year, we've started the Fight Picks League. It's a great opportunity for you to pick what fights you think is going to be happening on the app, and then we get to sort of compete against each other and just find out who's going on top on each and every single month as well. But it's been really competitive on this side with ATF. Just join the fun, get involved. It's a huge community thing. We're excited, and we just want to make sure that you guys are part of the fun too. But that will be all for now. Modestas, again, massive thanks, man. I really appreciate you jumping on board.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on once again, mate. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Always got great energy, and definitely we both vibe off each other on that.
Yeah, sure. We do. Yeah, for sure, man. 100%. All right, I agree. All right, then. Well, look, good night all, and take care, and good night. Take care.